All right, so tonight we're going to be doing a deep dive into Invisible, a short story by Donald Firesmith.
Okay.
And it's a story that really grabs you right from the beginning. You know, it's late at night, maybe you have a cup of something warm, and boom, you're dropped right into this creepy scene.
Yeah.
But this is not your typical ghost story.
Right.
There's a twist at the end that'll make you think twice about the whole idea of invisibility.
It is interesting how Firesmith kind of subverts our expectations right from the start.
Yeah.
When he introduces us to Norman Carter, this is not our typical hero, right away.
Yeah, he's lurking outside someone's house.
Right.
And the way that the narrator describes him,
Wow.
it's like we're looking right into the mind of a predator.
Exact.
This mix of fear and lust radiating off of him.
Yeah.
It's so unsettling.
See, the story doesn't just present Norman as a villain, it really explores the psychology of a predator.
Right.
And that mix of fear and lust that the narrator picks up on, that's key.
Yeah.
That suggests a deep-seated insecurity, a need to exert power over others to compensate for some kind of inner lack.
Okay, so we have this unsettling character, and then we meet the narrator.
Right.
And they're shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
It's like they can see right through Norman.
Absolutely.
Which makes you wonder, who is this narrator?
The narrator is this really intriguing, otherworldly figure.
Yeah.
They come across as incredibly powerful, like they're in control before anything even happens.
Yeah.
And then there's this deal, they strike this bargain that feels like something out of like a really dark fairy tale.
The invisibility in exchange for a task, it's a classic trope.
Classic.
You can practically feel Norman's temptation.
Yeah.
He's just thinking, sign me up.
Absolutely.
But here's where it gets really interesting, is when the narrator demonstrates their power. They make Norman's hand invisible.
Right.
And it's not exactly the superpower he was hoping for.
Right, because Firesmith takes this classic idea of invisibility and he adds this twist. True invisibility, as he presents it, means that light cannot interact with your eyes.
Oh, wow.
So you become blind.
So it's like, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Taken to a whole new level.
Exactly.
Suddenly, Norman's greed turns to panic.
Yeah.
He's starting to realize that invisibility might not be all it's cracked up to be.
And the way the narrator explains it,
Yeah.
it's almost casual. Like,
Okay.
This is obvious. Oh, you didn't know true invisibility means blindness.
Yeah.
And it's that detached tone that makes it truly chilling.
Yeah.
The narrator is completely unconcerned with Norman's fear.
And then, bam, the scene shifts.
Yeah.
We go from this dimly lit apartment
Right.
to
Back
Antarctica.
to Antarctica.
Talk about a change of scenery.
What a shift.
What a shift, right? It's
jarring.
that shift in setting is crucial, though.
Yeah.
We go from this confined, almost claustrophobic space
Right.
to this vast, unforgiving landscape.
Right.
And it's like a physical manifestation of Norman's sudden isolation and despair.
He's literally been stripped bare.
Left to face the consequences of his choices in this desolate wasteland.
Yeah.
And the narrator's justification for leaving him there. Dome chilling.
It's not just punishment, though. It's about missed opportunities.
Yeah.
The narrator lays it all out,
Yeah.
reminding Norman of all the times he could have chosen a different path, all the moments where he could have been better, but he didn't.
With that one line,
Yeah.
each time you peered through a window, each time you followed a woman home, each time you justified your actions, you had a choice. And each time you chose wrong.
Oh, man.
It's like the narrator saying, you made your bed, now lie in it.
Yeah.
Except the bed is a block of ice in Antarctica.
Right.
Yeah.
That line really drives home the weight of Norman's past.
Yeah.
Those choices that led him to this point.
Right.
And then we get the big reveal, the narrator, this mysterious figure,
Yeah.
is actually a demon.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
This isn't your typical deal with the devil scenario.
Right.
The narrator doesn't need to bargain for Norman's soul.
No.
They flat out tell him he's already condemned because of his actions.
He's doomed.
Yeah, it's like he was destined for this all along.
Firesmith is playing with our expectations here.
Yeah.
He's subverting that classic selling your soul trope.
Yeah.
It's not some external force that damns Norman.
Right.
It's his own choices, his own internal darkness.
It's a much more disturbing idea.
It is.
That we have the power to damn ourselves.
It's true.
Yeah, the narrator is just a facilitator.
Yeah.
A guide leading Norman to the fate that he's already chosen.
And then Firesmith, the author, jumps in at the end with his own commentary.
Right.
He talks about wanting to turn these familiar ideas of invisibility and the devil on their heads.
Yeah, he's not just trying to tell a spooky story.
No.
He's making us think about these concepts in a whole new way.
Exactly. He wants us to question our assumptions about good and evil, about the nature of temptation. You know, it's like he's saying, don't take these ideas at face value. There's more to it than meets the eye.
So we've got this creepy encounter,
Right.
this twisted take on invisibility,
Hmm.
and a demon who isn't quite what we expect.
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack, but that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Right. You know what's really striking about this story? Is how Firesmith connects invisibility with blindness.
Yeah.
It's not just a physical consequence. It's like a powerful metaphor.
So it's like Norman's desire to be unseen
Yeah,
blinds him to the consequences of his actions.
exactly. He craves invisibility to kind of escape accountability, to
Right.
indulge his darker impulses without consequence. But that very desire for anonymity
Yeah.
makes him blind to the real cost of his actions,
Right.
to himself and to others.
It's a profound idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Is he
He
that-
literally loses his sight
Yeah.
when he becomes invisible.
Right.
But he's also been figuratively blind all along, ignoring the ethical implications
Absolutely.
of his desires.
And that blindness is further emphasized by the narrator's chilling detachment.
Right.
You know, they offer Norman exactly what he thinks he wants, but they make no effort to sugarcoat the consequences.
Right.
It's almost like they're holding up a mirror to Norman's soul,
Yeah.
forcing him to confront the ugliness he's been trying to hide.
So the narrator isn't just offering a deal.
Right.
They're presenting a twisted reflection of Norman's true self.
Exactly. And the setting,
Yeah.
that stark, unforgiving landscape of Antarctica.
Right.
It further reinforces this idea of Norman being stripped bare,
Yeah.
literally and metaphorically.
It's like he's been cast out into this desolate wasteland, left to face the consequences of his choices with no escape.
And the narrator's justification for abandoning him there is particularly chilling.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not just about punishing Norman.
Right.
It's about highlighting the tragic consequences of his missed opportunities for redemption.
Yeah, it's like that line the narrator delivers.
Yes.
Each time you peered through a window, each time you followed a woman home, each time you justified your actions, you had a choice.
Yeah.
And each time you chose wrong.
Ugh. It sends shivers down your spine.
It does.
Yeah, that line is so powerful because it really underscores the weight of Norman's past choices,
Right.
that gradual descent into darkness that led him to this point. It's like the narrator saying, you could have been different, Norman,
Right.
but you chose this path, and now you must face the consequences.
And this brings us back to the narrator's true nature.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just some sinister figure offering a deal.
Right.
They're almost like a cosmic judge
Yeah.
delivering a sentence that was already written.
Right. Firesmith subverts the traditional selling your soul to the devil trope.
Mhm.
You know, he's suggesting that true damnation doesn't come from some external force,
Yeah.
but from within ourselves, from
Yeah.
the choices we make and the paths we choose to follow.
The author even chimes in at the end,
He does.
talking about how he wanted to challenge those classic tropes about invisibility and the devil.
Right.
He wanted to make us rethink these ideas, see them in a new light.
It's as though Firesmith is inviting us to dig deeper,
Yeah.
to question our assumptions about good and evil, about temptation and consequence.
So we've talked about the symbolism of invisibility,
Yeah.
the chilling nature of the narrator,
Right.
and the significance of the setting. But what does it all mean?
Yeah.
What's the takeaway for us, the listener?
That's the beauty of a story like this, isn't it?
Right.
It doesn't offer any easy answers.
Right.
It challenges us to grapple with these complex questions ourselves.
So it's not about finding a neat little moral at the end.
Exactly. It's about prompting us to think critically, to examine our own desires and the choices we make in the face of temptation.
Are we chasing after things that might ultimately harm us?
Mm-hmm.
Are we blind to the potential consequences of our actions?
Those are excellent questions.
Yeah.
And the story doesn't provide simple solutions.
Right.
It challenges us to grapple with the complexities of human nature
Yeah.
and the weight of our choices.
Remember that chilling line about how there are always more people like Norman waiting in the shadows?
Oof, that's a haunting thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
It suggests that Norman isn't unique,
Right.
that there are countless others out there driven by similar desires,
Yeah.
making similar choices, perhaps even heading towards a similar fate.
It's a stark reminder that the potential for darkness exists within us all.
Precisely. And it raises these profound questions about responsibility, about the choices we make and the consequences we face.
Firesmith is holding up this dark mirror
He is.
to human nature,
Yeah,
forcing us to confront some uncomfortable truths.
absolutely.
It's like Firesmith is saying, hey, look around. We all have this capacity for darkness,
Yeah.
this potential to make choices that lead us down a dangerous path.
And what makes it even more unsettling is that Invisible doesn't present Norman as this purely evil monster.
Right.
There's a complexity to his character.
He's not just a cardboard cutout villain.
Exactly. This story acknowledges that he had chances to choose differently,
Right.
to break free from that downward spiral.
Right.
But he didn't.
It's like a cautionary tale reminding us that we're not defined by some inherent goodness or evil,
Right.
but by the choices we make day after day, moment after moment.
And those choices, as the story so powerfully illustrates, have far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
Consequences that can be both personal and profound.
You know, one of the things that really struck me was how the narrator, this demonic figure, didn't need to make a deal for Norman's soul.
Right?
He was already lost.
That's such a powerful element of the story. It flips the script on that classic deal with the devil narrative.
Right.
It suggests that true damnation doesn't come from some external force, but from within.
It's like Norman's actions, his choices, had already sealed his fate.
Yeah,
The narrator was just there to guide him to the destination he'd already chosen for himself.
precisely. And that idea that we have the power to shape our own destinies for better or for worse is both terrifying and liberating.
It's a bleak outlook in some ways, but it also emphasizes the power of our choices.
Right.
We're not just passive players in some cosmic game. We have agency.
We absolutely do. And I think that's the ultimate message of Invisible. It's a story that prompts us to reflect on the weight of our choices,
Right?
to consider the paths we're on, and to ask ourselves, where am I going? And what am I willing to sacrifice to get there?
We started this deep dive talking about a late night, a chilling tale, and a thought-provoking twist.
We did.
And Invisible delivers on all fronts.
It does.
It's a story that gets under your skin and stays with you long after you've finished reading it.
It's a story that invites us to think critically, to engage with uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world around us.
So the next time you find yourself drawn to something that promises power or anonymity, remember Norman's story.
Yeah.
Remember those chilling words of the narrator.
Yeah.
There will always be others like him, waiting in the shadows, ready to accept my offer.
And ask yourself, what choices will I make?
Yeah.
What darkness will I confront?
Right.
And what fate will I ultimately choose for myself?
That's all the time we have for our deep dive into Donald Firesmith's Invisible.
Okay.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and maybe keep a light on,
Good advice.
just in case.